GOP. Senator Marco Rubio joins us now. Senator, we've got a lot to talk about. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
First off, when it comes to this election, when it comes to Republicans capturing the Hispanic vote, we see the polls. Is this an indication the Republicans are making gains like we have not seen since George W. Bush?
Yeah, I actually think they're more historic than that. And it's not just gains by Republicans, it's severe losses by Democrats. And one of the things we're learning here is that, Hispanic or so-called Hispanic activists, or people who claim to speak for Hispanics, and actual Hispanic voters and everyday people are not the same thing. Hispanics don't want to pay $5 of gas. Hispanics don't want violent criminals running the streets. Hispanics don't want schools trying to convince their son that he's their daughter. They're not in favor of these things, and I think it's pronouncing itself by voting against a party that stands or is responsible for those kinds of policies.
Sure, that particular district, Senator, 85% Hispanic. So, and they're right there at the border. So you've got to wonder, was it a myriad of issues, as you just detailed, or was it, the invisible line where everybody's coming across there, or was it fentanyl? Because the fentanyl is impacting every person in that district, in one way or the other.
Yeah, what I think it's about is working class common sense, right? People that live in the real world and have to deal with the real world consequences of stupid decisions. And so today, I think perhaps for the first time in our history, one of our borders is no longer controlled by the United States government. It's controlled by a cartel. I mean, that's the bottom line. Cartels have more power at that border than the United States government does, and that's a policy by design. When you have an administration that says to people, look, you shouldn't come to America illegally, but if you do, you're going to get to stay, they're going to come. We've got caravans now of 8, 9, 15,000 people, organized efforts to challenge our laws and cross our border illegally. And that's just on the human front, not to mention, as you said, the drugs. The amount of drugs that are pouring through that border and killing people across this country is extraordinary. If you can't keep people from crossing a border, you can't keep drugs from crossing a border. And the people on the border are living with the consequences of that. They have to live with the immediate consequences of these crazy, insane, deranged policy decisions.
Senator, what's interesting about that South Texas race, where it's 85% Latino, Democrats carried that district by 13 points in 2020, which signals trouble for the Democrats in November. Let's talk about security for our justices, because when that draft opinion was leaked, you guys, all the senators, voted unanimously to give protection to the justices and to their immediate family 24 hours a day. That went to the House. The House, Nancy Pelosi stalled and stalled and stalled. It took weeks to do it. And then yesterday, there was a vote. The House did pass it, but 27 Democrats voted against it, many of them progressives. Cori Bush, Jayapal, AOC, Presley, Tlaib, and Maxine Waters voted against it. Did they vote against it because they wanted the staffers and the clerks to also have security, and that wasn't in the bill? Or did they just not want these justices to have security at all?
Yeah, I'll tell you this much, right? Since that opinion was unlawfully leaked, we've had 23 pro-life centers in America either firebombed or vandalized. We had an assassin or would-be assassin travel across the country and get to the doorstep of a Supreme Court justice. Now, by the way, if that had been reversed, if it was 23 Planned Parenthood centers or liberal justice that was almost killed, then that's all we would be talking about. Yep. That's all the media would be covering, and that's all Democrats would want to talk about. We'd be having hearings on it, and CNN would produce one of those 90-minute documentaries on hate in America, and we would have all that. So I think these people are indicative of that craziness, of the notion that as if the political violence is targeted at people we don't like on the other side, then, that's okay. We saw that in the summer of 2020 with the riots. Right? When they were burning police cars, these are some of the same people that were out there demanding that prosecutors not put people in jail and that we help raise money to bail out the people who've torched police cars or killed people or destroyed property. So it's part of the first question you asked me. Hispanic voters have common sense, and they see all this and say, we don't want to be a part of a party that has people like that leading it.
Senator, one real quick question. The disaster of the Council of Americas in Los Angeles, I think would multiply that by Nicaragua now hosting Russian fighter jets and Venezuela cutting a trade deal with Iran. Have we just taken our hands off the wheel in Central and South America?
Well, it's a couple things. I don't think this administration is respected, frankly. I think this administration is looked upon as weak and ineffective. These people watch the same TV that we do. They see the same interviews. They see the same presidential performance. And they just don't respect the guy. They're not afraid of him, and they don't really think they need to count on America or worry about what America thinks under Joe Biden. That's their feeling, and that's what you saw pronounced there. And second, I don't think they have the A-team in charge of the Western Hemisphere right now. I don't think they have the A-team in charge of anything, but they most certainly don't have them in charge of the Western Hemisphere. And so I think that was indicative of the summit, which frankly, to me, was a big waste of time.
You did a great job for President Trump in that area, and he gave you a lot of latitude. Senator, thanks so much.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. Thanks for